Israel National Radio presents Aliyah Fever.
נוסעים נכבדים, ברוכים הבאים לישראל.
I'm going back. I'm going back. I'm going back to Jerusalem, the place of my birth where the heavens meet the earth. Back to Jerusalem.
All right, man, we are back for another week of Aliyah Fever, and you know what's in the middle of our screen right now?
Yes, we're definitely back, and that cake in the middle of the screen can mean a few things, because we're heading towards Purim, and we have a mishteh, but that's not the reason.
Hey, man, what's a mishteh? There you go with that Hebrew stuff again. We got a lot of people out there that don't speak Hebrew.
It's a really good time eating and drinking, and
it's a feast, man.
Feast, that's the word. But that's not the reason we have the cake today. The cake you see right over, I don't know how to get it. There, that's it, right over there, belongs to the person right over.
Down there. Yeah, he's down there somewhere.
That's Dr. Sam.
For those of you listening, that today is Dr. Sam's birthday, and we've got a birthday cake. Well, it's a virtual birthday cake, and let me see if I can bite into it. Hey, it looks pretty good, right? So anyway, Sam, man, unmute yourself and say hello to everybody.
Well, hello. Hi,
hello, Dr. Sam. We brought you
I'll get a virtual cake. And a virtual stomach ache, huh?
Yeah, that's right,
At least there's no sugar overdose.
You know how old Sam is?
No, not on the air.
Yeah, Sam, see that? He just put his...
I know, he's 25.
No, Sam, put that one hand back up again.
Huh?
Put that one hand back up again. See that? There you go, 5. Sam is 5 years old today.
You act as a much wiser man than a 5-year-old.
How do you feel as a 5-year-old there, Sam?
Well, it feels great.
Well, listen, it
feels great. Ringling Brothers has been calling me, and all these other side shows.
Well, listen,
I thought it was fun.
Sam, we got you on here today. The reason we brought, Dr. Sam he's a clinical psychologist, and the reason we bring Dr. Sam on is that, we do two things. We want to know if we're crazy or if you're crazy because you aren't making Aliyah. So
why would we be crazy?
We're not. Sam, you are a clinical psychologist. I mean, it's for sure. You can look them up and see that. Sam, are we crazy?
Are you crazy?
Yeah.
Well, let the audience decide. Now, now, what you have just witnessed. Well, no, you see, it's one thing to be crazy, okay, which is not in any kind of diagnostic manual that I know of. It's another to be pathological or pathogenic. That's all.
All right. Well,
things that are harmful to yourself and to others, and things that are getting in the way of your life. Zany is okay.
Well, listen, we personally think that the people that are Jews out there that are not making Aliyah, we think they're crazy, man.
I think crazy is a little too extreme.
I don't think so.
To look a little more deeply into reality.
Listen, they thought I was crazy. You're a clinical psychologist. What's the matter with you? What's on your mind? What are you doing living there? Are you nuts? What's the matter with you? Those bombs going off of it. Why don't you come back to California? I said, what are you? I said, are you crazy? It's sinking into the sea. And then you got all these shootings all the time.
Sinking.
It all depends how you look at it. We're too sane for our own good. I think that's it.
Well, look at, it's an issue out there now. We want you people out there, our audience, we want you to join us in this conversation. If you're overseas, we've got a claim here. Our claim is you're crazy. You are crazy to be living outside of Israel. You think it's dangerous here, man. It is dangerous over there, man.
I would like to qualify. Avram has a tendency to be a little extreme in the way he phrases things.
Wait a minute. I take exception to that. A little extreme.
Well, you're crazy.
All right, man. I am absolutely extreme in my view, and I'm proud of it. And, one of the things that people, when I moved to Keshet, and you're kind of included in on this, is that people want to know why we moved to Keshet. And they said because the people there that live there are narrow-minded, and I told them, well, you know what? I'm narrow-minded. So you ever think that there might be a community of narrow-minded people? I think it's good to be narrow-minded. What do you think? Because you live here too, so you got to be narrow-minded.
I think it's you have to make a very big distinction between. I mean, when you say narrow-minded, you're giving people the wrong idea. They think you're not aware of things around you. You're
As opposed to broad-minded, and I always thought that was somebody who was girl crazy.
So yeah, that's not what I don't think that's what you mean. I think when we say narrow-minded, we mean that there's certain things we know that we are sure of, and because of that certainty, we narrow the horizons of certain things we do or the places we look at in order not to affect ourselves by those negative things that we have decided that are negative. So if you want to call that narrow, for example, in my house, we don't have internet and we don't have television. Why is that? Because I've decided, because of my what you call narrow-mindedness, that the impact of that media upon my children is negative. So why would I be broad-minded and bring that destructive element into my house?
Listen, anyone who wants to pipe in here, go to aliyahfever@gmail.com. That's Aliyah with an H. Send us in your comments. We're going to respond to that. We want to hear from you. We want to hear from you crazy people out there, man. You guys are nuts, man. I can't believe. Wait a minute, man.
Yeah,
Sam, I want to.
What was that, Sam? I wanted to say something. I think the rabbi brought up an interesting point that, when your kids, they're under group pressure to take drugs, so that they'll pressure one kid. Here, I want you to take drugs, smoke this, take that. And it says no. They go, what's your problem? I have a problem. You're taking drugs, and I don't, and I have a problem. You see?
Yeah. So
it's the same thing. So they're saying, well, you should be broad-minded. This humanism kind of a thing.
You have to try everything. Have an open mind. Be pluralistic. Right. Well, I mean, there's a funny idea. Yeah, well, there's a funny idea. You can be so open-minded that your brain falls out of your head.
Yeah, that's right, man. We want to hear from you open-minded people out there. I mean, let's hear it. Bring it on. I want to hear why you think that being a pluralistic person, open-minded. We want to hear your point of view here, because I want to tell you something. Having that kind of an open-minded type of a thing, that's what Rob Michal says, absolutely true. You're just your head's gonna.
Look, the Nazi movement started out that way in the very, very, very beginning. Oh, they were humanistic. We love you. We'll accept everybody. We'll take care of you. They fed you. They were open to everything and everyone until finally, when it took root, well, we know the story. There was the rest is history. But everything starts off, and then they say, "What's the matter with you?" You get critical, and then if you disagree with them, they tell you. When I say them, the broad-minded, humanistic, try everything.
That's right. You guys out there, come on, pipe in. We want to hear from you.
It's very dangerous. That's dangerous thinking to oppose people who are saying, try, be flexible, be open.
Right. Well, you're labeled
then so rigid.
Right.
You're labeled as a narrow-minded person, but I think Rav Kook says a very interesting thing when he talks about.
Rigid. Yeah.
Yeah, when Rav Kook writes a letter, he answers someone who asked him about the expression, freedom of expression, and in one of his letters, he relates to the fact that freedom of expression is a wonderful thing and it's vital. However, when it contradicts the basis of our existence, then only as we said here, the word crazy, only a crazy person would allow freedom of expression. And an example of that is in a nation where would you allow a nation, because of freedom of expression, to expose its greatest secrets, its military secrets, its stuff? I mean, that would be suicide. So for the nation of Israel, there's certain basic concepts which are vital for our existence. And he brings the example of tzniut, of modesty. And if the Jewish nation, because of open-mindedness or broad-mindedness, and that here comes into the way you were talking about it, if we compromise those concepts, we're actually destroying ourselves. So their logic dictates and overrides the freedom of expression, or what we call broad-mindedness. And here we have to be, sometimes we put limits on the freedom of expression. And I think it's a very true concept. And anyone who's not aware of this, and this is where, you brought the best example. Drugs, it's a poison people input into their body, and they destroy themselves for the sake of some form of, I don't know what, a feeling.
Well, one thing I got to say is that, speaking of like drugs, is I think people that aren't Jews that aren't making Aliyah today out there, and you guys, I'm telling you, you pipe in here. We want to hear from you. Want to hear your opinions. Go to Aliyah Fever gmail.com. That's Aliyah with an H. Send in your comments. We want to hear from you. We'll talk about them. Listen, we'll take we're open-minded in hearing all your points of views, and we will be happy to respond to them. But what I want to say is that, I think people are addicted to living outside of Israel. And I think that brings your question there, Sam, about the 80% of the Jews that died that didn't go out of Egypt. Ask that question. Go ahead, ask that question.
It seems that people are addicted to security. It's better to be, whipped. At least you got your 3 squares a day. It's secure and all this, and 400 years, over 400 years, that's twice as long as America has existed, that we were slaves in Egypt. But I don't know. I was under the impression that 1/3 stayed behind. I was corrected recently. No, 80%.
Okay, 80%. So this. First of all,
and yet there was still millions. 500,000 men, but I think there was like 3 million altogether that went with Moses. Yeah. So we went. The Tanakh says we were numerous. They weren't. We were numerous. But just think, if everybody had followed Moses, just think how many of us would be around today.
Yeah. So. But in general, in Jewish history, we see that. But what relating to what you said, first of all, the time of slavery in Egypt itself is Kiminyan Redu. Redu means go down in Hebrew. The numerical value is 210, and Rashi says it on the spot that really the decree was for the Jewish nation to be enslaved for 400 years, but that time is counted from the birth of Yitzchak Avinu, and it ended when they left Egypt.
That's Jacob.
No, that's Isaac.
Excuse me.
That's 400 years. So now the idea of 1/5 leaving comes from another verse in the Torah where it says, "V'chamushim alu b'nei Yisrael meretz Mitzrayim." In Hebrew, that means an armed left, or they went up from Egypt. So in Hebrew, chamushim is a root also of another word. Chamesh or chamishit is a 5th. In other words, 1/5 of the Jews left Egypt. And that the midrash, whenever there's a hint, midrash is the rabbinical I don't know how do you say midrash in English?
It's a rabbinical explanation.
Okay, well, it's not
more than that. There's an oral tradition that was brought down as well from Sinai.
We know
this
that
is what that is.
Right. So when we see in a verse that there's an opening for something more, that's where the midrash jumps in, and the midrash saw the meaning here that when it says they were armed, you could also read it as 1/5. And therefore, they bring in the midrash that 1/5 of the Jews left and 4/5 remained. What does it mean remained? They died there. And this is a basis for another very important idea, which you're raising, which is unfortunately, even when the truth strikes us in the face, a lot of the times we're not going to acknowledge it. And we're living a time now where, if you look at the Jewish nation, how long did it take the 6 million Jews to develop here in Israel, and where did they come from? Unfortunately, not as many Jews as should have been aware of what's going on have made it here, and this is not a positive thing. I don't want to get into negative prophecies and stuff like that, but in the end,
come on, man, get into those negative prophecies, man. This is our doomsday message to you Jews out there, man.
There's only love.
It's always been that way all throughout history. Purim is coming up again. A handful of us, with Ezra and Nehemiah came here. It certainly hasn't been the majority, a fraction.
That's right. 40 something thousand.
Yeah, but one of the things
after World War II, not all of the, and then much to my chagrin, I thought my whole family left Eastern Europe, persecuting Eastern Europe around the turn of the last century. And I found out later in life, no, some of the family stayed behind. And I found out they perished. And I, recently, like a few years ago, I found out I have surviving distant cousins. Yeah. And I was a little bit dismayed. I said, that guy, I thought, well, he didn't get us. But and I was speaking to Holocaust survivors, and she says, look, every one of us, got it by the Nazis. Not every single family member. There was always one of our people that got it. But it's always been a handful for some reason. It's never,
there's a famous prophecy where it says, She'erit b'nei Israel, I don't know the exact pasuk, so I won't quote it directly, I don't have it in front of me, but it says the remainder of the nation of Israel will not speak bad in their mouth, they won't lie, they'll be honest. And what do you mean the remainder? What does the remainder mean? That's not it doesn't imply a great amount or a majority of what was. And in fact, that's one of the understandings, and I think we've passed that point. In other words, the Holocaust wiped out a huge amount of our nation. We don't have to look forward to any more destruction. However, I can tell you from my own family, from both my father's and mother's side, that the only continuation, which is Jewish right now, besides one cousin who never married, is my mother and father's family. Their children are the only Jews. Of all of those that survived the Holocaust, the only ones that remain Jewish are from their families that made Aliyah to Israel, the families that are here in Israel. Now, I mean, this is another form of, unfortunately, of destruction, as we know, assimilation.
Assimilation, definitely, yeah.
The quiet Holocaust.
The white Holocaust. Assimilate.
Yeah.
Two-thirds of our people have been destroyed. And you also want to even include, and that includes the White Holocaust. That's just as destructive, that we've disappeared. And
I think this kind of resembles there's been some talk in the news about spies, so it kind of reminds me of what, in a way, about in the desert, there were, back in the day of Moses, so the 40 years of the desert, when they were going to enter the land and they send out some spies, and there were, right there you see there was only 20% had decided to go in. You're saying 20%. In other words, somewhere around there. It was two out of 12. 2 out of 12. I'm not good at math. 1/6. There you go, man.
Statistically speaking, you see, there's many ways we can define abnormal, or to put it in a vernacular, crazy. Okay, one way is statistically speaking. So we know statistics. It's a frequency count. There's a bell-shaped curve. What is the norm? Well, I'll tell you right now, you don't even have to be a statistical wizard to know that we who are here are not in that norm. We're on the one at the end of the tail, 20%. I mean, so statistically speaking, most people stay behind in their comfortable, respective exiles.
Right. That means you guys out there, you people out there that
absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that are sitting now. You are part of that percentage of people. The died. I call them the died in the desert guys.
I don't have to reveal my martial arts skills on you. Okay? You calm down now before I get angry. Say something.
You don't have to do that. Sometimes the timing's up on this thing anyway. So yeah. No, probably that's going to go on time.
If you're aware, we've had responses. Yeah.
There you
We've
go.
had we've had responses from viewers who've told us,
the ethnic stuff, right? Because it's not politically correct.
That's right. We're not into that, man. We are. That's another issue we'll get into.
Well, I just want to say we've had responses from viewers who, they really want to make Aliyah, and wait a minute, no, I mean there's valid issues here. The parents.
Occasionally.
Well, I will once I get my career established. Once I get it, I'm
not talking about that.
I'm not going to go to Israel unless I know there's a job waiting for me there.
Okay, no, so they're really.
You don't get no job unless you. First of all, you need to establish yourself administratively, like to get a 2 dots. In other words, you ain't going. Unless you make the step off, nothing's going to happen.
Well, I mean,
that's right. Listen, we want to hear from you. You out there, you think you should be staying in America, or you're not going to come before you're going to get a job, or tell us. We want to hear your excuse. So send that excuse into aliyahfever@gmail.com. That's Aliyah with an H, and we give it to us. All right, we want to talk to you about it.
I don't want anyone to think that what we're preaching here is to do things in a non-ordered way. Obviously, that's
this
not
is our
the
disclaimer.
idea.
You know what they say about excuses? Okay, you know what they say about it? Well, I'm going to alter the accent a little bit, but the maxim a little bit. But excuses and nostrils have one thing in common. Everybody has one.
Yeah. Look, that is
I know what you were really referring to.
Everybody, this program, is to be censored. Talked about freedom of expression.
Yeah, we're interrupting Rob Michal. He wants
to
scream fire in a theater. No, okay,
we're going nuts. It's his birthday, man. Let him. All right, Rob Michal wants to pipe in here with us. He's trying to keep us under control.
You guys you're saying the same idea, and there's truth to it as well. Responsibility is vital, and you can't run away. As we learned from King David, you have to accept responsibility and the consequences, whether you stay there or you come here. But on the other hand, obviously, everything we've been doing on this show is trying to show people that it's realistically possible in every way to come
100%.
in an ordered way, in a normal way, without risking their whole lives.
You can even come in an abnormal way.
It's possible to do it. And on the other hand, there are people who, even I, in my 6 years or 7 years of working in an Aliyah program, there are people I told them, listen, don't come right now. His father, a guy whose father is ill.
Yeah.
He's ill. He's on his, he's got 3 years left. What am I going to tell him? Leave your parents and come.
No.
There's certain things we have to realize, that there are exceptions to the rule always. But I do agree that the majority of people do not necessarily make a big enough investigation even to go beyond their initial fears. Just check it out. If you check it out, as we've interviewed many olim and we've seen in many occasions, that it becomes a reality. I just met a family that made Aliyah from Pittsburgh with 6 children, and they're living in Katzlin.
God bless.
Amazing people. It was a very big move for them. Not a simple move, but they're happy.
You can do it, folks. You can do it. We want to encourage you, and if you have any comments that you want to send in to us, you give us some reasons why you think that you can't make Aliyah. We want to hear your reasons, even your good ones. We want to be able to accept those, but we don't accept a lot of those reasons that people give us, like that. I'm going to get a job and I'm going to go out to this perfect job. It's just not going to happen like that. I mean, good, but not really. Most likely.
We get like bad PR, like people, like you get a lot of Jews who are half assimilated, half asleep. How I wouldn't move to a country that discriminates against, various shades of practice, and I wouldn't move to a country that oppresses, the poor Palestinians. I should be so poor, right? I could never do that. I could never do that.
You should see their houses, those poor houses that those guys got, right?
Wait. I have to add on something here.
I mean, these guys are living in mansions, man.
No, that's not true.
I've been driving by those. They got.
You're not talking about Gaza. I've been in Gaza as a soldier. I can tell you, they live in dirt poor. There are a few Arabs that are extremely wealthy, and they completely demolish the poor ones. I'm not saying that because of that we have to do anything different, but I'm just saying we have to realize
I saw pictures of Gaza. And it looked like, the pictures I saw looked like a resort. I was thinking of moving there myself.
There could be some unique parts.
Plan
on it, Sam. Plan on it.
Being a soldier there, I saw other realities.
What a piece of property that is, though. If we had that beachfront property galore,
we did have it, and then some crazy people ended up telling us, kicking out our people. So listen, we got about 30 seconds left, and we want to invite you to come back for our second half, and we're going to do what's called the spy test. We want to find out if you are a reincarnation of the spies that were in the desert. So tune back in. We're going to find out. We're going to give you the criteria. You're going to decide for yourself whether you fit that description. Tune in to us. Come back. Send us your email, aliyahfever@gmail.com. That's Aliyah with an H. Hey, how'd you like that clip, man? That music was awesome, too. That was the Keshet Yehuda Pre-Military Academy. For those of you who are not watching the broadcast, we had a little clip of the academy, some little army pics, and the guys training, they're learning Torah, all kinds of good stuff. And if you ever get a chance, you can go pick up that little video on our website at jointheisraeliarmy.org. That's where we have the Keshet Yehuda website in English. And I want to let you know that we are having a webinar coming up here. So you can see that. There's our website right there. And there's a little banner on there on that website. It says, Webinar, Aliyah, and IDF Preparation for Jewish Men ages 17 to 20. And that's going to happen on March 17th. That's a Sunday. That's this March 17th, 2013. That's 7 p.m. Israel time and 12 p.m. Eastern time. So you figure it out for wherever you're located. You want to pick it up. We have some featured speakers there. We got Rob Michal Cohen. He is our wonderful co-host here. and he is the director, the program director of the Keshet Yud Aliyah and IDF preparation program, and he's got a lot to say about that. And we have Yaakov Frisch, who's a student. He's currently enrolled in. He is about, I think a matter of a couple of days of actually making Aliyah. The program helped him to make that decision, so we're real happy about that. In fact, right now, as I speak, they're putting together a little party for him, and they're having kind of a barbecue. So he's going to talk about what it was like for his perspective as coming over. He's a student, and what he felt about the decision about making Aliyah or not making Aliyah. And finally, he did make Aliyah, going into the Israeli army. So it's not a lot of guys come out of high school and say, hey, I'm going to go join the Israeli army, unless you're an Israeli, of course. But here's a guy that this is what he did. And his father, Robert Frisch, we call him Bob, he is also coming on. He's out of Massachusetts. He's going to be talking about how he feels and his wife feels about the program and the decision that Yaakov made. So you can get a good idea of what it's like for a young man who is making that decision. Either you're the young man or you're the parent, either way, because parents are welcome to join this webinar. It's free. And you'll get the idea from a student, from a parent, and also a graduate. We have Hanan Lieberman, who is a graduate of Keshet, and he served in an elite combat unit already. He's out and going to school here and going on to his next adventure, which is getting married, we hope. So he's a good-looking guy there. So if you know any ladies out there, just let me know, man. Aliyah Fever at gmail.com. That's Aliyah with an H. He doesn't know I'm doing this, so. But you never know. You gotta get out there, and we gotta help each other out, right? All right. So get over there and register. It's free. It even mobile device friendly, so you don't even have to worry about it. Just get on there, sign up, and join us, and you will hear these speakers. It's an interactive broadcast. You'll be able to communicate through the chat and National Radio, questions. Israel National News. They got all kinds of fabulous shows on here, and you'll see that there's no lack of them, and we highly recommend that if you haven't tuned in to the other shows, check them out, man. These are some good folks, man. They're wanting to help you out. They're wanting to give you information, the latest and greatest. Israel National News gives you the latest and greatest and good news, as well as interesting news. So, get over there and listen to those shows, man. Go to IsraelNationalRadio.com, and keep in mind, too, that if you want to donate, you can go to donate to the donate link on the Israel National Radio, and go for it, man. Go in there and send in your donations and help us out, because I want to tell you right now, ain't nobody paying us for this. We're just doing this because we just have a real feeling that we want to go out and like Tamar Yona was saying to me, she says, I got a mic, use it. Got a voice, use it. So here we are. We're out there. We're trying to help you to make Aliyah, and any way we can. If you have any questions, please send us an email at aliyahfever@gmail.com. That's Aliyah with an H. And all right, man, so we're going to go head back to the show and see what else we can come up with now. Got some surprises for you. Back, man, for the second half of Aliyah Fever, and we are going to do that spy test.
Stop.
What, man?
Don't put people in that situation.
Ah, come on, man.
You're a tough guy.
Oh, he's about ready to do that kung fu on me again, man. He's Kung Fu Jew. He's got that special move, the Kohen move. Show your Kohanic,
Go like this and you catch somebody.
There it is.
I'll tell you why I'm attacking Avam all the time. Because I'm a priest. You know that Leonard Nimoy is a Kohen, and
sure.
He the original Spock Vulcan developed.
Oh man, I was a Trekkie.
The blessing,
man.
The Vulcan blessing is really the priestly blessing that a Jewish priest says every morning. He blesses a nation with his hands in that manner.
He was a religious Jew in Boston. He grew up. He was a nice Jew in Boston.
William Shatner, man. Captain Kirk was Jewish too, man.
If Leonard's out there, you're welcome to join us.
Yeah, that's right, man. I think they even have like some sort of, I don't know. There was like the the Klingons, and then they spoke some sort of language called the Kreplach or something. Kreplach.
Anyway, the reason I'm attacking Avam is because priests are people of peace. We don't like conflict,
Right.
and therefore when Avam gets in his attack mode,
My Kung Fu Jew mode, man.
I go into my
all right, okay. But I think don't you have something you want to tell the people out? You got like some words of wisdom. Usually with Rob Maha, we get words of wisdom. We're kind of, I'm kind of shaky in that part.
In wisdom, there are two words: wise and dumb.
Well, I think.
Okay, so maybe I will say a few things. This is going to be our show before Purim. Purim is a great festival we've spoken about. We've spoke about it in the past. For the Jewish nation, it's a time of salvation, and we talked in the first half about how the Jewish nation has been threatened over the history of our existence over and over again, and we're celebrating the fact that God saved us from one of our greatest enemies who historically has come back to attack us over and over again. The name of that nation is Amalek. Okay? Yeah, and it started in the Bible and continued also throughout the prophets and into this day, even though there's a halachic discussion regarding the validity of naming someone Amalek today, we can't really point at someone and say he's Amalek, but there are other ideas that are associated with the spiritual inheritors of the Jewish nation, and we have many of those people who inherited the role of Amalek and are out to destroy us. We can point to Iran, we can point to different religions that try and wipe us out or change us, but in general, there's an idea that we have to relate to. When the Jewish nation is faced with incredible a miracle that saves us, for example, we spoke about the Jews leaving Egypt. When they crossed the sea, the Reed Sea, or the Red Sea as some people call it. So when they crossed that sea, they made a song of praise to God. That's called Hallel. Hallel is a song of praise that we say on festivals. And there's a very big question. Why on Purim, in this festival we were saved, also, the whole nation was saved. Why don't we sing the song of praise to God as we do in other festivals? And there are a number of answers brought to that question. And one of the answers is very relevant to our show. Because the Gemara goes on and says, you can't sing a song of praise about a miracle that occurs outside of Israel. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean? You can't, in other words, if God did a great miracle, it's not a miracle outside of Israel. What is it? I mean, we have to try and understand that in a deeper way. And the other answer, and maybe we will, but the other answer given is that we don't sing the song of praise on Purim because the end result of this festival was that we were on a much better level of slaves, but we were still slaves. We remained in what is Persia of today, or Iran, I guess, right? Is it? I don't. Well,
Iran, I walk, I crawl.
Yeah, I think I have to check it out.
It's Iran.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Persia. Yeah. Iran.
Okay, and that if we're slaves, even though we're on a higher level, we're still slaves, and that's what the Jews are outside of Israel. We're slaves outside of Israel. We are the citizens of foreign powers, not our own independent nation, and therefore that's not a great situation. Even if we have a lot of money and if we have swimming pools and many cars or whatever it is we have, we're still not independent. And right. That's a reason we don't say Hallel. But now let's try and get back to the first reason. Why is it that you can say, we say Hallel on miracles that occur only in Israel? Anyone have an idea why that would be?
You guys, anyone who wants to put in your 2 cents or 2 shekels or whatever your 2 things are, go ahead and send that into aliyahfever@gmail.com. That's Aliyah with an H. We want to hear from you.
Well, I know that some listeners out there may be thinking, wait a minute, what are you talking about? When they crossed the Reed Sea or the Red Sea, they were outside of Israel. So why did they say the great song of praise there, Hallel there? And the answer is, the Gemara asks that question and answers and says, because at that point they still had not entered the land, and the whole purpose of the miracle was to bring them to the land, and therefore it was allowed. But once they entered the land, this rule that we talked about came into effect, that we only say this song of praise when a miracle occurs in Israel. And I think that one of the reasons is, I'm going to venture it, you don't have to accept it, this is from my own thoughts, is that unless you're truly independent, in some way your mind is still enslaved by foreign concepts. And when the miracle occurs overseas, it's very easy for us in some way to look at it from foreign eyes and not through our own internal understanding as a Jew. and to see that God is with us and God's helping us, because we're still under foreign influence. And when we are in the land of Israel and a miracle occurs to us, so I remember in the first Gulf War, I was here as a student, and I remember the people screaming, "It's a miracle! God's with us, and this is unbelievable." The most secular people were saying it, say Tehillim, the Psalms of King David against Tilim, against missiles, Tehillim neged Tilim. This was something that everyone was involved in, and it was an amazing feeling of unity. After a few days, weeks, months after the war, it sort of dissipated, although many people became religious after that. Yeah. But what we see is that it was seen as a great miracle. Outside of Israel, I don't know if it was the way it was seen. It was seen as a bunch of coincidences or different things. And in fact, just to finish off, the idea of Amalek, the enemy of the Jewish nation, which we're fighting, is not just an external enemy. That's the internal enemy that exists within us, that is always telling us, look in a realistic, pragmatic way. You can't make it. It's too hard. Don't even try. Right. Well, I want to tell you something. If you want to start destroying that evil within you, first of all, give it a shot. Try. Don't give up before you try.
Also, if anybody's into the numerology that's called the gematria, is that Amalek also has the same numerology as Safek, which is doubt. Mm-hmm. So, Anyway, sorry about interrupting you there. I'm good at that. No, that was it. Just wanted to pipe that in there, and maybe what you're talking about is that aspect of that personal internal doubt.
You're right.
And that's what prevents us from achieving our own successes and not just moving to Israel, which you should be doing.
Okay, now I got to chuckle. Because Avram said such a great idea. I got to get into it and let me know.
Well, you see, but here's the thing. People talk about the physical and the practical. My experience, since I made Aliyah 20 years ago, but Hashem takes those things also into account. He gave them clothes, shoes that didn't wear out. Boy, I'd love to have a pair.
Oh, man, we're getting back to that spy thing again. Yeah, hey, let me do that spy test.
He will take care of your physical needs. Well, one of my relatives, called me on the carpet and says, you're crazy. Give me just one practical reason. One practical reason why you should stay in Israel. That's all. So I told him about the insurance, the medical insurance here, and how wonderful it is, and you pay nominal fees for top-notch insurance. And I explained, without getting into it here, and they were quiet.
The money talks. I
got a relative in the States who needs medication badly, and the insurance used to cover it. Now they don't, and he's got to shell out thousands of dollars a month for insurance. And then when he goes to the doctor, the deductible is like maybe anywhere between $500 and more. It's like, what is the point?
First of all, refuah shlema, healthcare.
God takes care of you. He will work out all the practical, but you see, somebody who's sound and down to earth, quote unquote, they're not going to get that. And like you said, the only way is that you got to, like Nachshon, you got to step in the water, and until you
fight the fear.
You see, first the commitment, then the knowledge.
There you go. So listen, we want to get Rav Michal to finish up his Divrei Torah here. Go ahead and say,
Avram said a very important point, and it's true. The first time that Amalek is introduced in the Torah as a nation that fights the Jewish nation, the name occurs before, but not as that nation. It says that the word brought to describe him is Vayikar. Vayikar, he happened upon the nation of Israel. And the interpreters explain that's not just the reality of how it happened, that's a philosophy of the nation that fights the nation of Israel. The philosophy is everything happens. Everything is by chance. There's statistics in the world. It's a nation of chance. There's no guiding hand to the world. They fight that concept. The Jewish nation represents the exact opposite. Everything is by the guiding hand of God. When a tree falls in the forest, that's by the guiding hand of God. Everything is by the guiding hand of God, even though there's a machloket, a disagreement as to what extent that occurs and exactly in what manner. But nonetheless, we agree, God guides everything in the world. And this is something we have to take and fight the internal enemy we have within us that resists always and says, listen, it's chance. You're not going to succeed. It's not going to go well. Statistics say ABC, even though today, what do the statistics say?
Oh, here we go on those statistics.
What does it say?
Nefesh B'Nefesh is reporting a 97% retention rate for those who come to Israel and make Aliyah. Now, if anyone out there has anything that they want to say against that, or they don't believe that, or they have their own statistics, we want to hear about it. Send that to aliyahfever@gmail.com. That's Aliyah with an H. Send it in. We want to hear about that. We would love to hear if you have some different statistics.
Let's not scare people like that. Let's just keep an open mind.
So,
I see you're getting,
Everybody has the right to their opinion.
So, all right. So you were saying about the. Wait a minute. Isn't it about time to do that spy test?
all right, look, I am a man of peace, and I love all of you out there. Every morning I go up and I say the priestly blessing that every priest in the Jewish nation is supposed to say once a day. I'm a Kohen, yeah.
I'm a lady.
And
I wash your hands.
You're a Levi, all right.
Hey, if you're a Levi, I'm a Yisrael, so we got.
Oh, we got representations
that
of
means
everyone
that's
here.
right. Which is now take the.
A Cohen is not a tribe; it's an occupation within the house of Levi. Isn't that correct?
Right.
It's, no, well, it's also, in other words, it's a tribe in a sense because only someone born to a Kohen is a Kohen. In other words, it also goes from father to son, the same way the other tribes do.
Right.
But it is within the tribe of Levi. It comes out of the house of Levi. And every morning when I go up, I have to, and I bless the nation. One of the requirements for blessing is that you love every Jew. If you hate someone, you're not allowed to bless. If someone in the crowd there hates you, you're not allowed to bless. He should leave. So in general, every priest that goes up to say the priestly blessing before he goes up has to think of how much he loves everyone. So I promise you out there, I do that. And and the fact that we're talking about you, and it seems to be a very critical way by some of us,
Me.
it's not out of any negative feeling. No, it's because in the end we do have a very narrow mind about one issue, which is where Jews belong. And we believe that the best thing for you is to be here with your brothers and sisters and building the nation and continuing the story that we read about in the Bible. You come here, you're a part of the continuation. The next portion is going to be written about you. That's what my brother said, and it hit home. But if you stay there, assimilation and other issues are going on. I mean, they just reported in the news today how anti-Semitism in France has shot up tremendously. Yeah. I mean, we have our own secure land. We have very good living circumstances. We have health insurance. We have, everything you get. We have great.
What we got over here was we have a life over here. We have a Jewish life over here, and those over there that are sitting in those Jewish communities outside of Israel, thinking this is the new Israel, or we're okay here. Yeah, well, one day I'm going to make Aliyah when the magic carpet comes. You are kidding yourself. I am telling you, unless you've got a really good reason, you're kidding yourself. You guys are you're putting all that money into communities over there when you could be putting your money over here into Israel, building up your true future, because it's not going to last over there. You are building on quicksand over there.
Hey, calm down. Calm down.
Anybody out there that wants to challenge what I am saying, I welcome you. Go into aliyahfever@gmail.com. That's Aliyah with an H.
Now, who's going to challenge?
Bring it on! Come on!
Now, who's going to challenge that? We've already trumped. We can't tromp on the people before they, before they make the call.
Well, wait a minute. I think we should start.
Okay, we're going to get them. You guys out there, you're going to bring it on.
We should start the timer and let the first round start. Okay?
There you go.
And we're waiting.
Yeah, there you go. Boom. Okay, so look, we're going to do the spy test right now, and what is the spy test?
Gently go.
All right, don't worry. I'm gonna go easy on you guys out there. But this is something that you're going to have to decide for yourself of who you are. We're not going to give the answer. It'll be obvious when you think about it. And I've asked this question to countless of young men who have come to us, and because they're young men, they always answer in a certain way, which you'll find out in a moment. And I have to kind of bring them to reality. So here we go. All right. So the question I have for you is that if you believe in reincarnation. Then even if you don't, believe in it.
I gotta go through this again?
Yeah, Groundhog Day. If you ever saw that movie, right? So anyway, what it is that in the desert, in the Jews that were living in the desert at the time of Moses, when they got out of Egypt and they had the 40 years in the desert, at one point they came to the land of Israel, and it was time to go in, but they wanted to send in some spies to spy out the land to see if the land was good, and they really didn't need to do that. Everything was fine, but they had ulterior. Now you can verify this, Ramachal, but to my understanding, they had some ulterior motives to sending in the spies. That it wasn't purely to go in to see the land. They didn't want to go in. They wanted to stay because, like what Sam was mentioning before, in the desert, we're told that their clothes didn't wear out, and they didn't have to worry about.
Can I interrupt for one short thing?
Hey man, never interrupt me when I'm interrupted.
It wasn't purely negative intention. They dressed it up. It was disguised as very positive intention. What were they doing for 40 years in the desert? You tell me. What were they doing all day and all night?
Well, they were learning Torah.
They were learning Torah. Yeah. They wanted to learn more.
Yeah.
Is that bad?
No, not at all.
When they go into Israel, what are they going to have to do?
Work. Get a job. Go in the army.
It's not easy, right? So maybe it's good to stay in the desert, right?
Chihuahua.
Yeah. So this is the issue. We're seeing a lot of this, and we're seeing right now even the conflict of there are a certain group of Jews here that don't want to go in the army. They want to learn all day, and we certainly believe that that's a very good thing that they do learn.
Yeah.
That they're learning all day, but. Are they? We're taught. There are those that aren't learning all day that are claiming they are. We're not saying that it's a bad thing that the people wanted to learn. We're saying is that the majority of the people in reality for a nation, isn't going to learn all day because it's a country. We're designed to be a nation, which means that we have infrastructure, and people should be out there doing nation building. But in our nation, we don't separate church and state.
Yeah, no, don't forget the test.
Oh yeah, I'm getting carried away here. So anyway, yeah. What sound?
You said the C word. We don't separate shul and state.
Oh yeah, right. You're right. Shul. You're right.
We don't make any bones about it from the beginning. We said from the very beginning by the first leader of this country, who was I hope I don't step on any toes, who was a secularist who had Marxist leanings, non-religious. Yeah. He was putting hunks, paragraphs in our charter, okay, that this was a Jewish state, okay, and they're returning to their ancient homeland.
Right. It's interesting. So here we go. I got to get into that test there. So before we run out of time, because we're down to about 3 minutes here, but here's folks, we want you to think deeply on this. We want you to respond to us, please. We're inviting you to respond to us at aliyahfever@gmail.com. That's Aliyah with an H, and we'd like to hear what you think and how you evaluated yourself on this. Now, we were talking about the spies in the desert, and there were 10 of them to which said that they couldn't do it. They just couldn't do it, and they had a whole list of excuses, like today, how people have all their excuses why they can't come into the land of Israel, why they can't come here.
Well, you see,
there were 2 of them that went out and they just said, we can do it.
This is what fear does. They said there were giants in the land and we're mere grasshoppers. Fear makes, you know what fear is? It's false evidence appearing real.
Right.
When you're fearful, the thing that you fear looks huge, is much bigger than you thought. And then when you turn the other side of the coin, you realize, what? I was afraid of that.
Right. So, but here comes the question now. The question comes in is that who would have you been with? What side of you? Now, these young guys are always on the side of the 2 that went in and said, we can do it. Because it was the 2 that went in was Joshua. Was the English version, and Caleb. These 2 guys went in, and these are big leaders. These are big guys, even though the others were also big leaders. But we know Joshua to be a big, a big.
Well, they were
warrior.
Leaders and fighters.
Right, leaders and fighters. So obviously, the guys we speak to are always on the side of Joshua, and these are guys what we call round trippers. And I tell them, you're nuts. You've got, I ask, are you making Aliyah then? No, I got to go to school. I got to go back and this and that, and one day. So this is what I call the reincarnation of the spies. Now my question to you is, who are you? Are you with who would have you been with?
Avam's a little extreme with the reincarnation of the spies thing.
Yeah, I know.
The dilemma is real. And today it's much easier to make Aliyah than it was 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 2,000 years ago.
No, but there at that point it was even more easy.
Why do you think it was?
Because God was there saying, do it. I mean, it was a direct message that came. Now, what we do is we have...
But isn't God speaking to us today?
Definitely.
Yes,
I believe that He is.
He's still
100%.
saying, I mean, is there any part of the Bible that's now null and void, or is everything still in full force and effect? There is
You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right.
There's no expiration date on
A
this.
wise man sees God's words in reality.
So we want to hear from you. Who would have you have been with, and why? And be honest, you out there, folks, because if you take some real deep thinking into this, you will find out for yourself that you most likely, if you're still over there hemming and hawing, that you would have been the group that stayed in the desert and died in the desert. So don't be that. Get over here. Be with the rest of the crew. In fact, there's one thing we're talking about, the Nachshon, who was the one who walked into the sea where it had parted. Now, I was thinking about that, and it said it went all the way up to his nose, right? Before it split.
It gets hard. It gets tough.
Well, here is I'm going to close off now because we got about 30 seconds to go. But the point I wanted to make about Nachshon was that here we go. Uh-oh, boy, I'm under pressure. I got to see the timer there, man.
Uh-oh.
There you go, causing trouble. Uh-oh, 15 seconds. Doesn't look like I'm going to make it. So anyway, we'll have to catch that next week. And
ask your question about Nachshon.
No, I can. We only got 10 seconds left.
I can beat me up
5. Okay. Well, anyway, we got to go. We hope you come back next week and listen to us. We want to hear from you. Go to aliyahfever@gmail.com. And like I like to say to all my friends, I get the clap one, man. Like I like to say to all my friends out there, we'll see you at the Beit HaMikdash. You got to believe it just like we believe it. You're going to make Aliyah.
Bye.
All right, that's it. Hit end broadcast.
I'm going back. I'm going back. I'm going back to Jerusalem, the place of my birth where I have lived. I'm going back to Jerusalem. I'm on my way. I'm on my way. I'm on my way.